Yeah.
Eddie.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, I hope you have had a great festival. This is the stretch run. We are approaching the tape. We are in the back stretch approaching the tape. This has been a fantastic festival. I think programming-wise, this is my favorite one of all the ones that I have been associated with, largely because today, talk about being typecast, I got to introduce the greatest or the ultimate example of a film noir. I started the morning with that, with Double Indemnity. And then I got to introduce one of the great cop movies of all time, The Big Heat. And then in the afternoon, I got to introduce the ultimate cinematic detective story, Chinatown. And now I am introducing the greatest heist film ever made in America. I'm going to qualify that because I love Rififi. I love Jules Rififi. But that was made in France, so it doesn't count today. So these movies are all, I count all of these movies among my favorite films of all time. So what a thrill. Really, come on, do I have a great gig or what? And I have to tell you, nothing really excites me more than when I always get up here and I say, so how many people in the house tonight have not seen this film before? How many people in this auditorium have not seen the Asphalt Jungle? Okay, this is what I live for. Okay? This is my job, is to bring these movies to people who have not seen them before. That's why TCM is here, and I'm just thrilled to be part of it. So, there's a fabulous connection between the last film I presented, Chinatown, this afternoon, and the movie you are about to see. John Huston was just acting in Chinatown, but it was brilliant to cast him in that film as one of the worst villains of all time. But he is the genius behind the film that you are about to see. Yes, he is deserving of all that and more. The reason I love John Huston so much as a filmmaker is because as a writer, I really appreciate how much he revered great literary works. No one adapted more great books to the screen than John Huston, right? From The Maltese Falcon, to The Treasure of Sierra Madre, to The Asphalt Jungle. He loved W.R. Burnett, the writer of this story. Burnett was a really, really interesting character. He also wrote, his first novel was Little Caesar, which was a massive hit with Edward G. Robinson when that came out. And he was really a very, very important and significant writer in mid-20th century America, who is largely forgotten today. And I'm actually working with some other people to try to rehabilitate Burnett's reputation, get a lot of his other stuff back in print. Maybe some of you saw Law and Order that was showing here at the festival this year. That's also a W.R. Burnett story. He also wrote High Sierra, which John Huston wrote the screenplay for. That's where they had their first connection, and found out that they were kindred spirits. So in 1948, when Asphalt Jungle was published as a novel, the publisher immediately sent galleys of the book to John Huston, thinking he would be very simpatico with all this, and maybe there's a movie in it, and Huston immediately snatched up the rights. But it got made at MGM, which was kind of unusual because that was not a studio that did movies like this. And this movie is very interesting because it represents, at the time it was made, a collision between two very significant and important movements in cinema. Film noir, obviously, it happened in Hollywood at that time, and it changed the way people made films, the way what audiences' expectations were when they went into a theater. You could make a movie where the protagonists were not the good guys. That was like one of the main things that noir achieved. Also, in Italy, there was the neo-realist movement that was happening at the same time. And filmmakers like Vittorio De Sica and Roberto Rossellini were really changing the approach to how stories could be told about ordinary people shot in the streets using non-professional actors. And this also was a big influence on the way Huston approached this film. And Burnett's idea for the story was, I want to tell a crime story about people who do this work for a living. That's what they do. They are professional criminals. This was not something that Hollywood was used to presenting. In fact, heist movies presented a huge challenge to the Hollywood production code because, of course, the main thing in the code was crime does not pay. So you're not going to get away with it, right? But there is no way if you make a heist movie that the audience will not identify with the criminals. It is impossible because you are showing a movie where people set out to accomplish a nearly impossible mission. And no matter what you think morally about it, where they stand in the world, you are expecting them to succeed. You want them to get away with it. And that's why heist pictures were such a challenge to the production code. It really had a lot to do with loosening up the code. Before this, heist movies were very different. You know, it was like Larceny Incorporated, and they very often included comedy in heist stories to not entice the audience into thinking this is actually a way to make a living. Right? So in film noir, there were a couple of heist movies like The Killers and Crisscross, but those were really tales about the love angle, the amour food that was going on in these movies, and not really the heist itself. This movie is just, like I say, everything's in it. The fence, the safecracker, the mastermind, all of these people who join together like a team to pull off this job. And it's this absolute masterpiece the way this movie is made. I consider John Huston directed the two best cast noir films of all time, The Maltese Falcon and The Asphalt Jungle. The casts in these movies are absolutely impeccable. I mean, Double Indemnity is brilliantly cast and all that, but this is a large cast. So top to bottom, everybody is perfect in this movie. I love Sterling Hayden as an actor. He hated himself as an actor. He had incredible self-loathing. He was a mariner. He was like Neptune, god of the sea. He was a salt. And he did not like being an actor. He said, I get paid to pose for a living. That's not really a livelihood. And he was ready to quit acting, even though he had, made a lot of money doing it. And John Huston was the one who talked him into sticking with it and gave him this part as Dick's Hanley. And the guy is absolutely fantastic. Gene Hagen is fantastic in this movie. Louis Calhern is great. He played this character in so many pre-code movies that it was amazing that John Huston knew exactly who to cast as Alonzo B. Emmerich, the shyster in the middle of all this. Sam Jaffe is fantastic as Doc Riedenschneider, the mastermind of the operation. Mark Lawrence is Cobby, the bookmaker who stakes everybody, who has the money man, all the way down the line. And of course, I'm not going to forget somebody who made a big impression in this film, Marilyn Monroe. A very early performance by Marilyn, which is really fantastic. And of course, the apocryphal story is she came in, I think it's apocryphal, I'm going to tell you anyway because it's like the man who shot the rebalance, right?
Print the legend.
Print the legend because the story's so much better. She came in and auditioned for John Huston, and then he said, I'm not sure, and then he dismissed her, and as she walked out of the room, he said, no, I was wrong. That's the only woman who can make an entrance by leaving the room. It is just top to bottom an absolutely spectacular movie, and I think you made the right choice ending your festival with this example of a perfect film. That's the other thing. Not only am I introducing three great movies that I love today, but I really think that Double Indemnity, Chinatown, and The Asphalt Jungle are, in my estimation, perfect movies. There's not a single thing that I would change in these films. You guys are in for a treat. Those of you who have seen it before, you know it's fabulous. It's worth seeing 100 times. Those of you who are seeing it for the first time, what a treat to see it with an audience like this on a big screen. It's a masterpiece. John Huston's The Asphalt Jungle.